Hey guys, this is Tactic. I finally made a video about weapons for lightning builds, and this is because I think even I need some testing. So I grabbed all my useful lightning weapons and tried them all out. So let's start with the Shard of Hate. Well, this is a tricky weapon. Firstly, I had doubts about replacing my Thunder Fury with the Shard of Hate, simply because on paper it looks like the proc from Thunder Fury is superior to the Shard of Hate proc, simply because it links to 5 targets. So it's a lot more DPS when you AoE. But I don't know, since I replaced my Thunder Fury with the Shard of Hate, I actually found out, like as you can see right now, it procs a lot more than you would expect. Meaning, firstly, the Shard of Hate procs from attacking, so from normal attacks, and then it has an extra chance to proc when you actually hit the mob directly, for example with Whirlwind, and that makes Shard of Hate a very powerful weapon, basically because you can hit like between 3 or 5 and 5 times a second with AoE spells. Now, right now, I'm trying to test the proc rate of Odin's Son, and as you can see, it really matches the 40% chance that's written in the description. And one extra thing I can say about the Shard of Hate is that, well, it depends on the skill you use it with. I will try and link below some of the skills and the percentage of the procs they have. And basically you can see right here, you can cast once per attack the proc with the Shard of Hate if you use Frenzy. And another great skill with high proc chance is Weapons Throw with Mighty Blow on a lightning build, for example. You can see there the screen is full of sparks from the Shard of Hate, each hitting for, well, right now it's not really relevant because I have Hexing Pants and it nerfs my damage, but each spark can crit for up to 8 or 9 million, which is insane. So if you don't have Hexing Pants, I really recommend people just going with Weapons Throw, maybe with Depth Diggers and Simplicity Strength Gem. You will basically hit like a truck, plus the procs. It's just great damage. Now right now I'm trying to mix Thunder Fury with Odin's Son, and you can clearly see the difference between Thunder Fury's Chain Lightning and Odin's Son's Chain Lightning. The Chain Lightning from the Thunder Fury links between mobs even if they're far away, and it links to 5 targets. Now the Odin's Son, I think it hits harder than the Thunder Fury, and it can link to the same target 3 times, so this is actually sick. So the combination of Odin's Son and Thunder Fury is not a bad choice. It's actually my favorite. I like this combo better than Odin's Son and Shard of Hate, simply because I play hardcore and the minus 30% movement speed and attack speed debuff from the Thunder Fury is really important for me. So basically this is the reason I'm wearing a Shard of Hate, is because I have a lot better rolled Shard of Hate comparing to the Thunder Fury. If I would have a similar roll for my Thunder Fury, I would probably use the Thunder Fury instead of the Shard of Hate. Now, if you're wondering how can I get the perfect Thunder Fury and what means a perfect Thunder Fury for me, basically I want to be able to re-roll the socket into extra weapon damage and to have vitality and strength on it. As a hardcore player, this is vital for me. And since the Thunder Fury always rolls by default with the socket, it's extremely hard to find a weapon perfectly rolled on the primary stats, perfectly rolled on the secondary stats, and just to be able to re-roll the secondary with 10% extra damage or the missing stat and adding the Ramaladi's gift, because this is actually the goal, to have a weapon that you can insert Ramaladi's gift in it, so you get a lot more value out of that weapon. So that won't really happen soon. So let's see now how the Schaefer's hammer performs. What I can say about Schaefer's hammer is that it has a lot better burst, but it falls behind on sustained damage. Meaning your life per hit will go down, your procs, your whirlwind procs will go down. The good side is that your ancients will hit harder, and your overpower will hit a lot harder too. You won't be able to refresh the overpower from the crits in order to keep the buff up, the killing spree buff up constantly, as with dual one-handers. But all in all, it's a great weapon. I don't have a good rolled weapon. This is an average roll on my Schaefer's hammer, and I'm pretty sure with a better secondary roll and a better weapon damage roll and a Ramaladi's gift in it, it will be able to compete better with dual one-handers. But still, the life per hit will go way down, and this is something you will see in higher greater rifts. Well, which isn't really a big deal, because you can just use the Schaefer's hammer to farm Torment 6 if you find it fun. And if you don't have, because finding a Schaefer's hammer will be easier, I think, than finding two of the one-hander weapons. So you can clearly play with Schaefer's hammer until you find better one-handers. And as you can see, the proc is up almost constantly. It hits around all the mobs, and it hits for about 10 million. It's okay. It's not, again, this weapon is great for farming lower greater rifts or Torment 6, or just farming your one-handers with it. But in my opinion, I would still go with one-handers, especially on higher torments and greater rifts, just because of the life per hit and the killing spree. You must have the overpowers rune the killing spree up constantly. It provides you with a ton of DPS as well, and you can basically see this if you test it. It will appear that Schaefer's hammer hits harder, which it does, but it falls behind after you use your overpower on and all the burst. After you use them, then it falls behind from the one-handers. Now I don't know for sure if the Chain Lightning for Thunder Fury, basically not the initial hit, but the actually chain hits, will proc your overpower. Meaning not proc, like reduce the cooldown of your overpower. This is something I just couldn't say for sure that it actually works, but I know that if I'm using Shard of Hate, the sparks work like independent spells or something like that, so they are not really linked to anything, so it's like a separate crit, and basically all the sparks coupled with all the crits you do contribute to your overpowered being refreshed and being able to keep the killing spree up 24/7. Now this is mainly because you will use Battle Rage with Bloodshed. So the 20% extra damage from all the hits you do, especially when you AoE, it can even double your DPS, even go over it. So the more mobs you have around you, the more damage you will have. And if you know the build I'm playing right now from my previous videos, you know that you get bonus DPS from the Pain Enhancer gem as well. So the more mobs, the DPS increases, well, not really exponentially, but it's a lot more than just additive. Now if you're wondering why I don't have a Fulminator on me on a lightning build demonstration or lightning weapons demonstration, it's simply because once you have a Thunder Fury and a Shard of Hate and an Odin Son, the Fulminator becomes garbage items, so you just scrap them all the time, simply because the Fulminator is only good for AoE, meaning the mob you turn into a rod will not hit themselves. So this is actually the only problem of a whirlwind build or a lightning build in general. You are missing single target DPS. This is why you can go, if you don't have hexing pants, you can just go with weapon troll and then you fix the single target DPS. You can basically play around, but one thing is for sure, once you have an Odin Son, a Thunder Fury, or a Shard of Hate, or even a Schaefer's Hammer, the Fulminator becomes useless. Then many people kept saying that if you're missing a weapon, you can simply just use a Sunkeeper. Well, I don't know. I think there are a lot more alternatives than just using a lightning build with a Sunkeeper offhand, simply because you will not be able to kill trash fast enough. So you will waste a lot of time killing trash. Yes, you will do extra damage from the one proc and the damage you have on elites, but overall this is actually the main reason and the fun reason that people play lightning builds is the procs. So you really need the procs from the weapons in order to make a lightning build work. Now if you're asking about Wrath of Lightning gem and why I'm not using it on a lightning build, which is kind of retarded if you think about it, my excuse is that it's not my fault, because I really thought that the gem will finally make lightning builds compete with fire builds damage wise, because if you read the tooltip, you kind of get tricked. You will say, oh my god, what a excellent gem, and the damage is nice and all that, but in reality the damage is split, and to be honest, it's a major disappointment for me. Basically a Tigug gem, a trapped gem, or it's useless. Bottom line, it's not even worth trying to explain why it's a useless gem. It's just useful for leveling, or I don't know. It's a disappointment for all lightning builds, I'm pretty sure, across the board. Now the major thing about every lightning build that doesn't go for two-handers, it's the Odin Son. The Odin Son is actually one of my favorite weapons in game, simply because the chain lightning hits like a truck. You can crit for over 20 million with it. In my build, maybe other builds can make it crit even higher, and this is the beauty of it, because if you are left alone one-on-one with an elite, the chain lightning actually chains to the same target, so you'll be able to hit the elite 3 times. So that's a huge damage burst from a proc that already procs quite often. And another weapon that I didn't really talk about, and you never see anyone talk about, is the bovine polearm. Is that the polearm that casts or procs and summons some cows to fight for you. Now there was a time in the PTR when those cows were actually useful, meaning they would hit decently, and they will also proc some sparks. And I don't know, right now in the current patch on live, it's useful if you don't really have, or if you start the game and you find it, yeah, use it instead of nothing. But it's not really an end game weapon. It's slightly better than a yellow weapon if you want to take it like this. So as you can see right here, I'm trying out weapons in Torment 6 Rift, and you can see that there's not really a huge difference from one combination to another. It's really hard to compare, since there's so many variables in each combination, and you can't really say for sure that, look, if you have a perfectly rolled this and that, then this one would be better than the other one, simply because it's really situational. Meaning, if you have low HP mobs, then the weapon with the higher burst will clear it faster, which means using a two-hander. Then if you have small groups of elites or something like that, it will be better to use Odin's Son and Shard of Hate. If you will have to fight really large packs, you would be better off with the Thunder Fury and an Odin's Son. So it's really situational, and since you will meet all those situations in most of the rifts, meaning a combination of a weapon would be better in certain place, and then you would have to use a different combo and then a different one in order to perform the best in each situation. But since now with the greater rifts, then you can't really change weapons overall, so from the start to finish is basically, it's almost the same thing. So it all comes up to the better rolled weapons you have. I really can't wait for me to find a almost perfect rolled, let's not be too optimistic, Schaefer's hammer. So I will be able to re-roll a stat and insert Ramaladi's gift in it and test it at full potential. Because right now, as I test it right now, it really performs below all the other combos, and I'm pretty sure it can at least reach the same, if not go over the DPS of the one-handers, simply because the ancients will hit like a truck, your overpower will hit like a truck. Then the only downside will be the life per hit and the whirlwind breakpoints. So you will actually have less hits from the whirlwind, which is not really it's not a big deal in the end. So let's try out my favorite combo, the Odin's Son Thunder Fury. As I said before, I like this combo simply because it performs a lot better AoEing. Let's just see if I find a perfect rolled lidless wall with lightning damage. Never mind. I just wanted to see if I find a nice lightning damage lidless wall so we can test one-hander plus shield too, but I don't know, I never like playing with the shield on my barb. So let's get back to the combos. The Thunder Fury plus Odin Sun is my favorite because all the lightning effects. So basically, in the first place, the visual aspect, and then comes the AoE. So the more mobs you have around you, the more DPS you will have, simply because, in my opinion, the Thunder Fury is better than the Shard of Hate at AoEing mobs. Simply because the chain lightning hits for a lot more DPS than the proc from Shard of Hate, and the fact that it links with 4 additional targets, so 5 in total, which is crazy. If you multiply the proc by 5, you get almost like, I don't know, over 1500 damage. So it's a ton of DPS. And this kind of combos you can use on, of course, on this kind of builds, on whirlwind builds. You can use them on weapons throw builds, on cleave or bash builds coupled with dead diggers, on rake course builds. If you go on lightning, it will proc a ton of times. If you use it with rake core, it's quite fun. You can even go with Leap Quake with Lightning Rune and these weapons. I don't really recommend it, but it's something you can do just for fun, just to testing out. And you can just see before, well, even the burst for the Odin Sun and Thunder Fury combo, it's immense because you can proc them at the same time, you can use it overpower at the same time, and you can basically just run through the trash mobs and just pop. You use overpower and you just pass through them like a knife through butter. Now the advantages of using a lightning build is that most of them don't revolve around stunning mobs permanently or freezing them, or I don't know. It feels more dynamic, meaning you actually hit mobs hit you back. You proc your weapons. It's actually harder for you to build your character like on a lightning build because it's harder, so you have to search and optimize and think of new ways to do more damage, and I don't know, it's not as boring as just finding a Maximus and playing all the fire builds you want at a higher level. Now don't get me wrong, I don't hate fire builds. I played them a lot. I used Leap Quake until I got sick of it. I have a Rake Core barb as well. I'm using a lightning build on it too, because it doesn't really matter what build you have. It's just about charging around the map and clearing all the trash, and then staying 4 or 5 minutes on the Rift Guardian if you don't find the pylon, which is fun until you get bored of it, because you don't really feel that your character improves significantly if you swap an item or you find an upgrade on a fire build. But on this build you can clearly see even the slight improvement on secondary proc, or everything can be seen clearly after you make an upgrade, and it's extremely hard. I don't know if you can see someone with a perfect rolled Thunder Fury or a perfect rolled Shard of Hate just to say, okay, this guy has a perfect lightning build. I never seen something like that. So I think I covered all the information that I found by testing all these weapons and playing with them. I can tell you for sure I do play most of the builds and the classes, but I always play Lightning Barb at least once a day, and I try to play it with different weapons just to see if I find something better or I can optimize it somehow. And yeah, this is basically all I could find about it. And I'm pretty sure I missed something out, but if you guys still have some questions or you feel like I missed something important, just post in the comments and I'll make sure I reply as soon as I can to it. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for all the comments, the likes, the subs, the support in-game, on forums and everywhere. And I would love to start streaming too, but at the moment my computer is not top notch, but I'm sure I can find a way to do it. So I'll let you guys know when and how and what will I do in it and so on. So thanks for watching, guys, and have a good one.